what's up? In today's video, I'm going to show you how to track tattoos onto deforming skin, just like this. Alright, so I chose this video clip for two reasons. The first reason, making you click on this video, I hope it worked. But the second and more important reason is that you can find this exact same footage file on pexels.com for free, and that makes it possible for you to follow along with this tutorial using the exact same files as me. So links to that are in the description, and without further ado, let's get started. So right here is my footage, which I will drag and drop into a new sequence right here. And I will just make my timeline a little bit bigger and search for a moment that I want to use for my clip. Start right here for the demonstration of this tutorial, make this a little bit shorter. So now we'll go over to my effects and search Mocha Pro and apply this to my video. Mocha Pro is made by BorisFX and they are today's video sponsor. I'm sure you've all heard of Mocha AE, which comes in Adobe After Effects, but did you know that Mocha Pro comes both for Adobe After Effects and Premiere Pro? So with one license, you can use them both in Adobe After Effects or Premiere Pro. They are most famous for their industry standard award-winning planner tracking system, which I'd highly recommend you get started with if you want to learn Mocha Pro. And BorisFX has been so kind with offering all my viewers a 15% off on Mocha Pro. So if you check out with the link in the description below, use my coupon code, you will get 15% off at checkout. So for this video, let's focus on tracking with the new mesh feature. Now, this is what you will see, and you will see the logo of Mocha. What you want to do is click on that logo, and that will open up the Mocha system, which is a separate interface, and we can click start. And that brings the footage right here. And so I'm working in the classic view. You might see the essentials view, which is a simpler layout for when you're getting started with Mocha, and yeah, it doesn't overflow you with all these tools. But I'm more comfortable with the classic, to be honest, because in the time, this was the original layout. And yeah, I've been working ever since. I would highly encourage you to start using this interface because it has a lot more options, and you don't have to look at all the tools and use them right away. Just use whatever you need for your task. So let's concentrate on our tattoo for this instance. So what I will do is go over here to the X-Spline tool. And now I want to make a track area on my footage, and I want an area that has enough detail. So with the Z tool, I can zoom in, and with the X tool, I can pan around. So I'm just going to find a good spot. So I will start by creating an area, clicking and creating a few points to create some kind of oval shape. Like this. And the bottom doesn't have to be that big. So there we go. Now what I want to do is go over to the tracking tab. And in the tracking tab, we want to enable perspective, but also the mesh feature, which is going to change our tracking type. And now you're going to see that it's interconnected with each other, and it's going to create a mesh that is going to track like based on every single point that you would see in here. Currently, there are not many points. So what we want to do is go into the generation mode, and instead of automatic, we want to change this to uniform. Now, in order to see what this does, we have to generate our mesh. And so we can see now we have a uniform mesh with all these points that are individually going to be tracking. I want to decrease my mesh size to something like 25 and generate again. I want to go over to the minimum pixels used for my entire shot. Instead of 90, change it to 100. That's just going to use the maximum amount of pixels in order to track this shot. That way it's better safe than sorry. And then lastly, for the smoothness, this depends on how much your object is deforming, and skin isn't deforming that much, for instance, if you compare it to crumbling paper. So the fewer deformations you want, the higher smoothness you would want right here. For example, a smoothness of 10 would be ideal for paper, but a smoothness of 70 would be ideal for skin. So we're just going to enter 70 here, and that's about it. So we are at the beginning of our timeline, which is really important if you're going to start tracking to know where you're starting to track. You can also start in the center, but then you will have to track it backwards and then go back to that point and then track it forwards. But in this case, I found the first frame to work perfectly, so I'm just going to start tracking from here. So click on this button right here, and that's going to start tracking forward. You can see that this mesh is sticking pretty well to the skin. Alright, and there we go. So now we're done tracking. and we can just double check everything and see if the movement works for us, if there are any mistakes, and I do like this. So now what you want to do is go over to the Insert tab. And in the Insert tab, we can now go to the Insert clip, and here we want to choose Import. We're going to browse to our tattoo and open it up, and then we can click Import. That will import our tattoo right here in place. So now what we can do is we see this square here, and we can adjust the square to our likings to adjust the tattoo into position. So maybe you want it to be bigger or smaller. So that's going to be completely up to you. And so maybe you want to end up placing it here. So that looks great. Then try to match the perspective using these points here. And now an extra level of detail, what we can do here is to enable the grid warp right here. And what that allows you to do is choose a subdivision level between 1 and 4, and 4 being the high subdivided level where you can manipulate or deform your image. But if you set this to 2 or something, you will see that you will now have less grids or points to manipulate, and that will create a smoother deformation, and you can then level each one up to add more detail or something like that. So this will enable all the deformations to one frame. So if you do this right here, you can see how it deforms, so you can manipulate this however you would want. Something like this. And once you're satisfied with your detailing and maybe you leveled up, I don't need to do that in this case, then you need to enable the power mesh warp. And what that allows you to do is to actually extend this to all the frames and warp it according to our mesh warp track that we've done. So right here we have the weighting, which is 100, so it's just going to manipulate it at 100%. So after that, we can change the blending mode as well right here to something like luminosity, and change the opacity to a lower level, so the skin is a little bit more translucent and we can see the tattoo, or we can see the tattoo through the skin instead of seeing the tattoo on top of the skin. So by lowering the opacity, it's going to make that look a little bit more realistic. And we can also enable the motion blur right here, which is going to add motion blur to our movement and again make the entire thing look more realistic. So if we play this, we can see that now our track is perfectly sticking to our body. And so once you're satisfied with that, we can go back to the first frame, and now we can also add a little bit more detail here, because as you can see, the tattoo here is not behind the bikini, so we want to do that, and we can actually use our same mask that we used to do the tracking and now to do the masking. So we can just manipulate that mask after checking right here in the Insert tab, use all layers, and that will just use this mask as a, well, this X-spline here as a mask. So if we just now manipulate this to the position of just the strap here, and we can later on also soften the edges a little bit to make that integrate even better, we can now change everything like this. And so as you can see, obviously our mask should be inverted, so we can also enable the invert here, and that will do something like this. So that's looking great. And so now if you want to soften this out, we have a tab right here for the layer properties and the edge properties, and right here we have the edge width. We can set this to 3 or 2. Let's try 2 for now, and then press set. So now we can see we have a little bit of feather going on. And if you want to take this even a step further, you can even zoom in here, take a new X-spline, and then we are going to draw a mask in the rings. And so we don't need to retract this. We can actually use this layer here, and we can then go link to track layer 1. And now it's going to take that movement with it, and we can also add that right here. Not sure if we're really going to see a big difference here, but maybe for the extra detail, why not? And also link that to layer 1. We can also add a feather here, so of 2, and on layer 2 also a feather of 2, and set, and there we go. And if you're going to play this, we can now see that these tracks are linked to our first track, and that's taking this away, so that's looking great. Once you're satisfied, we can click out of Mocha and save all the changes that we've done in here. Now we have to jump into Mocha settings and go into the module renders. Open that up and we can see the module tab. Right here, I want to change this to Insert Composite, and then we want to enable the render in order to see it. So now we can see our final result right here. That looks pretty solid. that's it for this video tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it, and definitely check out BorisFX. I can offer you a 15% off with the coupon code Ignace Mocha 2022. A link to it and the coupon code are available in the description below. Go and check it out. It's a really powerful engine being used in the industry right now. So that's it. I'll leave you with another video of mine, which you can go ahead and check over here. And apart from that, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell to stay notified when I upload new videos. And I'll see you in the next one. Until then, create epic videos.